Hello, everybody in Alexandria and beyond in the DMV. This is Living on Music. I'm Steve Houk, and what an exciting evening this is going to be. We are and very, very lucky to have an incredible guest. As I've been talking in the pre-show, we were all trying to keep living on music during this time. I know I did. Yesterday, I played about a 2-hour set in my own little midlife cover band world in the driveway, and we did some wonderful stuff. Even did "We Shall Overcome" and "This Land Is Your Land" for all of our friends who were downtown protesting and peacefully protesting. But we are in behind me as one of my venues as I do every week. Behind me, you'll see the Warner Theater, another great venue that we miss greatly. And we hope that that's going to be another place that's going to be full anytime soon. When I started this show on ZTV about 2 months ago, I had a couple of guests on, John David Coppola, one of them who does Alexandria Live, and said, why don't you have Siobhan O'Brien on your show, man? You got to have Siobhan. And I was like, well, I've heard of her. I'm going to check her out, and we're going to go to town, and I'm going to get her on this show. I also had Lucille Flaherty, one of our amazing Zebra. I call her the queen of live stream, who goes out all day and does things. And she said, get Siobhan on. And I'll tell you, after listening to some of the music of this amazing lady, I was very honored. A recent review of her newest record says something about her wearing her influences on her proverbial sleeve. And I love that because she is not only influenced by her family, she's a fourth generation Irish musician, but also is influenced by people like Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Jackson Brown, and others, and has an incredible sound that blends old contemporary folk stylings with this new wonderful sound that she has created. She is a gem. She's got a new record, and we're going to have some great fun tonight. Please welcome, without further ado, the amazing Siobhan O'Brien. How are you?
That's a great intro. Thank you, Steve.
I know, kind of long, but I couldn't help it.
No, you're so nice. Thank you so much. It means a lot because, especially at this time, it's I just, I started doubting, and I'm usually very good to keep my positivity up here the whole time, and I'm very aware of it. And it's a big thing, an everyday thing that I work on, and it hasn't been good for the last few weeks, and I feel like I'm getting my mojo back. So this is really helping. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here to do for you guys, is get that mojo. Now, first of all, we have not had a background like this. I mean, my gosh, we've had some wonderful, amazing people on the entire time. Where are you right now? You live in Alexandria, but where are you out right now?
I'm quarantining in Madison County in Virginia, about 2 hours away.
Oh, that's spectacular.
At a friend's house, and it's a lake house, White Oak Lake, I think it's called, and it's just serenely gorgeous.
Oh, that's spectacular.
Yeah,
we were, and Siobhan and I were talking with our executive producer, David McClure, before the show, and as we were setting up the show, a butterfly landed on her microphone, which we were rolling on that. That was a gift from something. I think that was beautiful. We talked a little bit about, Siobhan, about this time for musicians, and it's going to be great when I can do this show and we don't have to talk about how tough it is and oh my gosh, but it is tough. You guys live and breathe your music. You live and breathe playing live. I think we talked a little bit earlier that you've really been yearning for that, and it's been tough, right?
I mean, I usually, as I was saying, I can insulate myself against, like when COVID hit, I saw a lot of people imploding straight away and panicking and fearing and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Jeez, this is ridiculous. Why are you all going like that? It takes me a while to catch up with that fear because, as I say, I insulate myself from it. I don't watch the news. I don't engage in negativity. I really, really try to, because I'm over here on a mission, basically. I've left my son, my home, my family, everything to follow this dream. It doesn't feel like a dream, and it never does until, something spectacular happens. But when I look back and see all the little spectacular things that have happened, it's hope again, and so when COVID hit, I thought it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And now 3 months into it, I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I'm falling asunder here. Now, there's a few different things. Obviously, not being with my family is hard in these circumstances.
Absolutely.
And then, just the reality of, oh my God, do not know when I will earn again or if I ever will earn as a musician.
Right. And you had a new record coming out right at the about a month and a half before this hit.
It came out in April. It came out in April, yeah. And I spent an awful lot of money on the whole project. And my PR and radio campaign finished last week or 2 weeks ago. And I had done a Kickstarter campaign to fund that, because when I got here first, Mary Cliff, radio DJ icon, folk radio DJ icon, brought me as her new find to NERFA, the Northeast Regional Folk Alliance. And at that, I reacquainted myself with Steve Garvin. He's a music manager, and I had met him at South by Southwest 20 years ago. And I sat down with him and he told me what I had to do. And so I literally have done all of that. And now, I made the record in Austin, Texas with John Bush and Matt Hubbard.
Yes.
Released it eventually. Had the PR campaign, did the radio, and got national airplay for 2 of the songs. And that's great. But it's actually nowhere, really, kind of. You know what I mean?
It's because of that, right? It's because of that live element too, is where.
I can't gig the record. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do is get on the road with my band, and I don't know.
It'll come, and in the meantime, You Can't Run Out of Love is a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. And I don't blow smoke. So I really, when it came out, when I started to listen to it, when I knew that there was a chance of us to get together and talk like this, it really, really moved me. And I think it moved me because that's what you do. Your music, and especially some of the things that have come out of that you have said about this record, is that you want people to feel this. You want people to feel some motivation, some goodness, things like that. Tell me a little bit about, I know that you had John and Matt from Edie's incredible New Bohemians. One of my favorite, I got to interview, as I said, Edie a couple of years ago, and what a wonderful lady, and what an incredible band. How did you hook up with those guys in the beginning to do the record?
Well, it's so serendipitous, everything is, and if it's all meant to be, it all just feels good straight away. Before I came to live here 3 years ago, had to go off and work on a cruise ship doing singing, gigging on a cruise ship, because in Ireland I was in a job called, I was doing special needs assistant in a primary school with kids with special needs. So in Ireland, we have the option of taking up to 5 years for a career break. So I just gave them my resignation in January because I had the 5 years up then. So for a whole year of that first year of the 5 years, I was at home, and I thought that my lawyer had told me I'd get my visa in 6 months. And of course, it went on for nearly 2 years. So I had to go and work somewhere, and I couldn't get anything in Limerick. Anyway, so I went off the cruise ship, and Matt was on the cruise in Alaska with his dad and mom and his son. So I think there was 4 generations of that family, and they were just, family vacation. And so I was involved on the ship with a thing called Rock School at Sea, and we were mentoring the kids that would come on, and we'd put a band together with whatever they were able to do, and we'd help them for the week.
Right.
And so Matt's son Dean was our guitar player this particular week, and so Matt had heard me singing around the ship or whatever, and when he was leaving, he gave me his card, because I said, God, I'd love to get back to Austin. And so he was a producer. So I had played South by Southwest in '99, and I went to Nashville and met up with a couple of producers, and none of them worked out. And I was like, how am I going to get to Austin? I don't know anybody down there. I don't know anything. So I started with Matt's card. And then I rounded up like another, I don't know, 3 or 4 producers to talk to. And then as soon as I got to, well, Matt wanted to bring in John because John was an engineer and also sonically great, and so was Matt. So the minute I got there, whether it's just we're all into the same things or our same age or whatever it was, we literally clicked straight away. And it was just really a moment of magic. And that was the November, and I came down in the January then, and we recorded the album really in nearly 3 days.
And there is something that about your music that really you dug deep, and this kind of chronicles what you've been going through, I guess, since you made this huge move to leave your homeland to come here and find this next musical step.
Yes, yeah, that's well put. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how, as songwriters, we're documenting all the time in our lives, and this is definitely about this time in my life. And there's a couple of old songs in there, but they're not, The King's Fool is totally about me adapting to this country and to a different culture. And I feel sometimes like, because I had my son when I was 21, right. I never went to college. I never did that whole thing, leaving home at 18. And I feel like when I left for the cruise ship, that was my 18 when I was leaving home, and I went off to see the big bad world, And right. It really does feel like that, because the growth in me, for the last 4 years has been more than I've ever grown in my whole life, and right. That's all part of it. And yeah, I mean, pretty amazing actually when you kind of say it out loud,
Well, and this record seems to be living up to the kind of the power and the nature of the music that you've been driving towards your entire career. It must feel really good amidst all of the and also you've had a couple of personal losses in your family. I mean, you have been through the mill, lady. Oh my God. And
yeah, pretty crazy. My aunt, first of all, my mom and dad came over in February, and I remember hearing the night we were leaving. So mom's brother died last week, Brendan, and we're all obviously, very upset and everything. And he lived in Las Vegas, and so I made sure that mom got to see him in February, because I think they both knew that it was going to be the last time. But I remember when we were leaving, and his wife Stella brought us to see the lights on the Strip. And I remember us talking about the Chinese and the coronavirus, and where I was just going, what? Well, that's never going to come here. I mean,
yeah, right, exactly.
It's just insane. And that was kind of that. And then we went over to Dad's sister in California, and she actually died before we got there, but we were there for the funeral, which was great, before COVID. And so my mother's a singer too, and she's a music teacher, so both of us sang at the funeral. So it was really nice to be able to do that.
I bet.
Yeah.
And that, my condolences to you, obviously, for those losses.
Thank you.
The good thing is that you were able to put this music out there. It will get out there. You will play it live. We all know that this will pass, and you'll get out there and play it. But you must feel good about the way this came together. It is really a strong record.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that, because I don't know, as an artist, it's like you're always fighting that doubt all the time, My dad was a rugby player, and he was a manager for the Irish rugby team, and he brought Marvelous Marvin Hagler in as a like a life coach, positive thing, for the team one time. And he always, after he met him for the first time and he did the speeches and everything, he used to say, starve the doubt, feed the faith. And Dad used to go on that mantra the whole time, and that's what he used to say. But it's very, very hard to starve the doubt sometimes, and this is one of those times. So I'm so glad that the record was made, and I had at least the bulk of the work done. All I want to do now is just gig the record. I just want to get gigs all over the country and just gig, That's what I came here to do, was to find my audience, to secure my future, to give it this one last lash, because I honestly was getting stale and I was very unfulfilled, and I knew that I had to do one kind of a last ditch effort because it just was a burning thing that I had to do. And it's not, there's a book called Anam Cara. It's an Irish author called John O'Donoghue, who's a Celtic spiritual wisdom kind of a guru. He's dead now, but, he says the greatest sin is the unlived life. And I just was reading it today and I went, oh, wow, that's actually what I did. I must have read that years ago. So as well, but I couldn't be okay with not having a fulfilled life. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do understand. And to me, even though it's been amidst, just an incredible time, you've really put forth your strongest effort. And I think the people that are here, and we have a nice audience popped in, let's see if we can talking about the record. Let's hear a little bit of the record. I think you're going to do King's Fool for us.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Now I am an immigrant. I left my son, my home, my life, my family, my word. Forever I will roam. The strain of uncertainty, a life of rejection, internal revolution. I choose my own trajectory. The King's Fool, I play the game. The dancing bear, the court jester. I'm cursed with this desire. Biblical bureaucracy, can I just play my lyre? Please take away this longing, let me crawl back down my hole. Hide under my childhood bed, too sorry to console. The King's Fool, I play the game. The dancing bear, the court jester. I have spent a lifetime unlearning my conditioning. When the chatter in my head gets loud, I pray for pure transitioning. The King's Fool, I play the game. The dancing bear, the court jester, the King's Fool, I play the game. The dancing bear, the court jester.
Oh, Siobha, man, I'm telling you that is it really, really makes you feel of what you're talking about. And I think that that's one of the magical things about your writing is that you're able to convey that stuff with genuineness and sincerity. Again, this music from this record really speaks to what you've been through. And is that something that's been the way you've written for your entire career?
Yeah, I'm pretty selfish. Yeah. It's just, I mean, I try to write as a kind of a challenge, about things that are not about me. And one of the songs, Hold Me in Your Arms, on the record I did that with that. And sometimes it works out, but mostly it's when it affects me. You know what I mean? My experiences and observations in life.
Great songwriters do that. So you're doing exactly what we as music fans want is people to be genuine and honest and also tell it like it is. Growing up,
it's funny because when I started doing The King's Fool, even before the record came out, a lot of people really, really identified with it. And that's why I made the video to be about everybody. The video in Austin.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people were saying to me, I'm a secretary and I'm playing the game. I don't want to be in this job. I'm a hairdresser. It's not my dream. I want to do the, you know what I mean? Like, and it just resonated with a lot of people because I feel we're all playing the game to get ahead, to do what we want to do eventually, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's just making sacrifices, you know? So.
And it was, you know, it wasn't easy before this. It's a world that we're, you know, and you and I have talked a little bit about this, and we can get into it a little bit, you know, in a little while, about the fact that a lot of music is going out free, and it's hard to control the streaming, and we, you know, that can be a frustrating and, you know, almost angering type of thing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But you grew up in Limerick, Ireland. Talk a little bit about Limerick. What kind of town is it, and how did your family influence you with their? I mean, you've got some incredible musicians that are world renowned, actually, or at least in the European sense. Tell me a little bit about Limerick itself, and what do you miss most about it?
My family, you know, that's really what it comes down to. I feel like what's his name in Breaking Bad? It's just about, I have to do for the family, man.
Yeah, Walter White. I actually just watched half an episode of that a minute ago. Right, you're doing everything for your family.
And, oh my God! But yeah, I mean, it really is, and you know, it was hard leaving. It really was hard. But Limerick is. I grew up 4 miles outside the city in Ballyclough, and we had an idyllic childhood, really. I'm the eldest of 6, so I had 4 brothers after me, and then my sister is 12 years younger than me. And, you know, we played in nature, out climbing trees. We were down by the sea. My father built a house in County Clare, and we were down there a lot from our teens. And, you know, they gave us everything really. And there's 18 grandchildren now, and my son is the eldest of them. Wow. And they all get on really, really well, and it's just really lovely, you know. And so then I started playing guitar when I was 16, which is kind of late. Yeah, and I obviously was always into music because my dad had a huge record collection, and I was just get the ironing out and iron for the whole house and just have the record player on in the background and just put on records all day, and I was in bliss. And then at 18, I had a boyfriend, and he was already gigging, so he brought me on. And I, you know, honestly, I don't know how long it would have taken me to do my first gig if it was on my own, because it's so daunting.
Right, totally.
And there was it was the late 80s, like in 1988, and there was an awful lot of great music around. There was a vibrant live scene in Ireland, and there was just always gigs on. And I remember we hitched out to County Tipperary to Dundrum, Shinrone, to see Arlo Guthrie.
Oh, wow.
And we pitched a tent in the farmer's field, and the following night we hitched back into Limerick, and I saw Ted Hawkins. You know, I mean, it was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. You know, it really was very vibrant, and there was great local Limerick bands, and I learned an awful lot from hanging out there. I mean, the blues I learned at Buddy's Bar, which is this biker bar, and there was hippies on one side and bikers on the other, and they all got on fine. And, you know, they were playing a lot of blues music there. And then there was a country guy called Joe Brown, and he had a great country band, but it was like Guy Clark country, you know, and Townes Van Zandt and Johnny Paycheck, and, you know, so like, and they had such a great band behind him. Actually, Dave Keary was the guitar player. They were in a band called Tuesday Blue, which kind of nearly made it very big, and he's now Van Morrison's guitar player. Right. But like, it was that stellar, it was that, you know, standard. And that was in our local, you know, there's great musicians in Limerick. And
well, talk a little bit about your family, because your uncle was extremely well known. Your family's, tell a little bit about how that 4 generations of music in your family influenced you as well.
Yeah. So my mother is a music teacher and a singer, and she sings still at weddings and funerals. And she brought out her first CD at 60. and her brother is Brendan Boyer, and he's the guy that died last week, and he was a household name in Ireland. I mean, he is. I mean, the whole of Ireland was mourning last week. It was all over every paper, every local radio, everything. You know, he's a household name.
Yeah.
And that's yeah. So he had an amazing career. I mean, Elvis used to come and see him in Las Vegas, and the funny thing is the Beatles opened for him 6 months before they hit big. Yeah. And actually, somebody sent me the ticket last week around, you know, his death, and I never even knew a ticket existed for that. I hope it's a real one. But
and did it say his name and then, you know?
Oh yeah. It said Ireland's finest or something like that. Oh God, what did it say? And then it was like, and opening is what did they say? Liverpool's local, the Beatles. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, really amazing, totally. Really amazing. And apparently, when I asked him when we saw him in Las Vegas in February, what's the story with meeting John and Paul? And he said there was this story going around that. Oh God, let me get it right now.
Right. Oh, take your time.
Basically,
I'm a major Beatles fan. This is huge.
Yeah, John said to Paul after the gig when they were out the back having a smoke or whatever, and my uncle was there, and Paul asked him, "What you think?" You know, and he goes, "Oh, you were great. I hope you go far." You know, and then apparently John said to Paul, "Hey, Paul, maybe one day we'll have a van like that."
Oh, God.
No, sorry, I got it wrong. This is why I asked him. He said, "Hey, Paul, someday we will have a van like that."
Oh,
because my uncle's band had a Mercedes van, and it was like a big, you know, and they were traveling all around the UK in it. So that's what it was. He said,
and you know,
we will have a van like that.
As you well know, the Beatles struggled, you know, in Germany. They were stuff was thrown at them. I love the story where they stayed in Germany. They stayed in a storage room. You know, they no money to get a hotel. It was like, you know, in Best in Show, that movie where they stayed in the hotel storeroom. But that is incredible. So the influence of your family, there's a Celtic nature to a lot of your the inner parts of your soul and the way you grew up in Limerick.
So yeah. Not so much in the songs or right. I mean, I did an album with Paddy Maloney from the Chieftain. Well, he did 2 songs. He played uilleann pipes and low whistle and tin whistle, penny whistle.
Right.
But they weren't Irish songs as such, but they sounded Irish. You know what I mean? But
I think that's where I'm getting to is you have this kind of Celtic influence as a child, kind of growing up with this music. Yet your main influences again. Who were they? Joan's got to be one. Bob. Yeah. Tell me how and you've gone the folk route. You don't do Celtic type songs, but you certainly, how much of the Celtic past and the other influences of like Joan, Bob, and those guys have you been able to meld together to create your sound? Where did it originate?
From my dad's record collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I hear that so often interviewing everybody.
No, I know. And you know, every time I hear a young person say to me now, "Oh, I love someone from the 60s or whatever," I go, "How do you know who they are?" And they go, "Oh, my dad loved it, so that's how I know." And I'm thinking, it's the only way that gets continued on if the parents are totally into music and they instill it in their children. Because I've seen people who didn't have that, and they're only influenced then by the radio because they don't have any other outside influence. And that's fine, you know, but I mean, all the best stuff is not always on the radio, you know, and there's more to music.
Yes.
You know,
there is, and that's the thing with the artists that have influenced you, and many of the artists I like are similar. The singer-songwriters, there's stuff that you never hear that's buried on records. It's some of my favorite stuff. I'm a Springsteen fan, and his track stuff that nobody ever heard on records is some of the most amazing stuff he's ever released.
Crazy, yeah.
It really is. You made a choice to come to the United States. Do you regret that choice now?
No.
Good.
I actually don't have any regrets about anything. which is good. It's funny, just after reminding me now, I was driving to Ohio to do some gigs one time, and I had started doing some like life coach work with a girl called Nova Whiteman. And, she talks about the serendipitous stuff that goes on all the time once you start being aware and start noticing. And I was in the car coming back from Ohio, and I was saying, where is that song? What's the name of that blinking song that Scott Walker used to sing? I used to listen to it 25 years ago. I couldn't remember the name of the song, and I was going through Spotify and whatever. And next thing I went, sugar, that's what it is. No Regrets. Punched on No Regrets, comes out over my car. And as I'm driving, this house is up on a little bit of a hill, and there's a huge sheet leaned over their gate, and it says No Regrets.
Oh, God.
And I nearly had to pull the car over. I couldn't believe it. It was just one of those things I will never forget. It was so amazing.
Spectacular. There's a serendipity in that story.
Oh my God, it was really, really huge. But I mean, so no, I don't regret it at all now. I mean, it is pretty boiling hot right now, and I'm so glad that I'm hopefully going to be able to go home in a few weeks.
Right.
I'm waiting for COVID testing at the Irish airport so that I don't have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
But I never finished about the rest of the family. Mom's father was a conductor and a classical music teacher. And he was an only child, and his parents, my great-grandparents, started an opera company called the Boyer Westwood Opera Company, like in 1909 or kind of around then, and they were English. And but he died of a heart attack in Omagh, County Tyrone, in the north of Ireland, so he's buried there. And that's how I think they ended up in Ireland. And so my grandfather was playing violin in the orchestra a little bit when he was like 14 in their opera.
Oh my God.
I know, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Well, that is, and that heritage, obviously, and I wouldn't think you'd have regretted what you've chosen at all. I think, pandemic or not, I think you're gonna shine so brightly with this record. I really hope that it's just not dead in the water. I really do. I don't, Siobha, no way, not this kind of music. It's too amazing. And you did a which I really loved. You did "If I Needed You" by Townes, not long ago.
Yes.
He is one of those treasures of American songwriting. And what prompted you to do "If I Needed You"? Are you a Townes fan from way back?
Yes, except that I never really listened to his stuff at the time. I don't know if you know this and you're a music head, but do you know where he made his last record?
No.
In Limerick.
Oh, God. What?
Yeah. Yes.
What? Well, what's that story?
In 1994, the producer was a guy called Philip Donnelly, who actually passed away about 2 years ago. He was called the Clontarf Cowboy. He was a great guitar player and in country bands in Dublin and stuff, and good friends with a good friend of mine, Pete Cummins, who had a band called the Fla Cowboys, who were going to be signed by Bob Dylan in '88. But anyway, Philip Donnelly had been over and back to Nashville, and he brought John Prine over years before, like late 80s or whatever, and he brought like The Speed of Sound of Loneliness, and Nancy Griffith then got bigger in Ireland before that all happened. And so Townes made his record in Xeric Studios, which was where I made my first EP, Mumbo Jumbo, blah, blah, blah. And he was hanging around town. He was there. He was always around. And, I'd bump into him and I'd say hello. And he was always very kind of aloof and stuff. But he let me think now. Oh, yeah. So I gave him a Padraig Pearse book of short stories. Padraig Pearse is one of the martyrs of 1916 Rising. And he was a writer as well. And one of the stories was called The Fool. And the next time I met him, he says, he wrote that story about me. And I was like, oh, okay. I hadn't even read the story. I was like, whatever, I think he might like this book. I'll just give it to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, he was a sensitive soul, and it's just so sad that the demons get the better of you,
Well,
he left such a legacy behind,
He He did, and then Steve Earle is one of my favorites of all time. And Steve and I have talked a couple of times. And one of the interviews was him talking a little bit about his relationship with Townsend Guy Clark, and
Sure,
how
he was like the young boy, like Huckleberry Finn, looking up at like,
yeah,
oh my God, I
yeah,
can't believe him with. Yeah,
and with
and
such a
Rodney Crowd too.
with such a propensity for addiction, and so to be hanging out with Towns wasn't really going to help Steve get past that. So he hung out with Guy, and it was just how you balance your life.
Well, I'll tell you something. I laugh at those things now because I say the new rock and roll is like water and yoga. I mean, we're not throwing TVs out windows anymore. And there's something to it. We've all moved on and realized you don't have to be that reckless to have a career.
Right.
No,
not at all.
It was cool for a time and whatever. But yeah. We're all trying, and we're all so aware. And this is the one thing I'm really glad for it to be in 2020, where we're all being super aware now. We're all being more than aware than we were before. And we're all trying to find a balance. And that's what it's really all about. And pre-COVID, I swear, this record is about, can we slow the fuck down? Do you know? Because it was just, I felt so bad for everybody in their cars for an hour and 2 hours in the morning and coming home from a 9-to-5 job. The Beltway thing, I couldn't understand. And I was like, this is not a life. Why are we just existing? This is not living, and this was my whole thing. The King's Fool is kind of a bit like that. There's weavings of it in and out through the lyrics of this thing. We just stop for a while, please. And I think a lot of people were thinking that because, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending what happened, some marriages probably split up during COVID and one got stronger,
Right.
Well, I'm going off on a tangent now, but thinking about the horrible abuse that's going on for people who are not protected because they're in their homes.
Yes.
That's an awful thing that I think about a lot. But
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
the levels to this are incredible to think about.
And the suicide.
You mentioned Bob Dylan a few minutes ago. Give a nutshell review or report back on kind of when you met Bob and how did that come about. It's a really neat story.
Yeah, I got word that he was staying in a hotel, so I went up with my father to Dublin, and we were waiting outside the hotel, and he came out, and I had a cassette tape, and I had three original songs on it, and I just wanted to give it to him, and I was saying, I know he's a bit odd with people now, I won't annoy him, I'll just whatever. And I was like, hi Bob, can I give you this tape? I won't annoy you, I'll go away. And he was like, and he kept pulling his Eskimo hood over his face. And I was like, no, I don't. He was like, why isn't he believing me? I said, no, I don't want to annoy you. I just want to give you the tape. I'll go away. And he's like, pulling the hood over his face, like, go away. And I just went, look it, I sing. And he turned around and he said, well, sing for me. So I just went, babe, I'm going to leave you. Tell you when I'm going to leave you. Leave you in our summertime. Summer comes a-rolling. Leave you when our summer comes along. And he said, then he said, sing another verse. So I sang another verse.
Oh my God.
And then he said, let's walk this way. So I was chatting to him and talking to him off and on, and the curb crawling high-ace fan behind us, which I thought was a curb crawler. And I was like, I think there's somebody following us. And he was like, where? Who? What? Who's? And I was like, I think somebody's following us. They're behind us. They were his guys. He was only having a mess with me, But so there's a thing I do, and it's if a lyric or something comes up in conversation, I'll start singing the song. And that's kind of what happened. And one of the songs was The Fox Went Out on a Chilly Night. I don't even remember how that came up, but he brought me to the show, and I was sitting at the side of the stage, and before he went on, he said, hey, maybe you'll sing that with me. And I was like, oh, no. I don't know all the words. And he says, maybe you will, maybe you won't. That's okay too.
That's
And he was so nice. He was just really, really nice. And brought me to the gig, then brought me to dinner after the gig. And so it was, we went to Bono's Brothers restaurant. And so when we came in, I said to Bono, I said, oh, my uncle is Brendan Boyer.
Oh.
And I knew from my cousin that she had met him like 6 weeks previous in Las Vegas because they were at an REM gig or something.
Right.
And he was like, what? Brendan Boyer? Like, so when we sat down, Dylan was here and then Bono came to the other side and Bono says to Dylan, hey, her uncle was the Elvis of Ireland. And Dylan goes to Bono, she came to my hotel. She was just there. She sang me these lovely songs. And it was like, oh yeah, it's true. Oh yeah, it's true. I'm saying to him, like, because his face was like, what is going on here?
Oh,
but anyway, it was a long time ago, and it was great because there's the butterfly back. It was great because you know what, that whole encounter, I think it kind of gave me confidence because he eventually took the tape and I left a note for him and the tape because he wouldn't take the tape the whole night. Mm-hmm. And then he rang me 3 weeks later and left a message. I wasn't there and said it was Bob about the tape, you know, so it just was like, it was the confidence that I needed to kind of say, oh, well, I might be kind of good, you know, I might be okay. Right. I might be able to do this, like, you know. Right. And I met him that was in 93.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, if he could, and then I met him. He could see you now.
Well, look at me, Bob. I met him 4 months later again, and he was playing a festival, and Joan Baez was playing Ray Charles. Oh my God, it was an amazing festival called Flamour. Wow. And he brought me up to the side of the stage again and asked me to pick out what he was going to wear on stage. And he was just so nice and remembered me. And so there was me, Joan Baez, I'm name dropping now, I know, John Prine, and Glenn Hansard. Do you know who Glenn Hansard is?
Yeah, I love Glenn. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a new record out actually. I just heard the first single today. It's amazing. It's great.
Yeah,
it's
he and Eddie Vedder did a long video tour, for his birthday. I love that. They're like,
nice.
Oh yeah, nice. And I think Eddie had maybe one extra beer, and Glenn had a big Guinness, and they're like laughing because I guess they're very close.
They're very good buddies. Yeah. They've done a lot of shows together.
Oh, I love it.
And then I met him 2 years later again, coming out of the hotel, and I had my first EP, which was an actual CD called Mumbo Jumbo Blah Blah Blah, and all I wanted to do was like give it to him, and he was going across Leeson Street. It was a very wide street in Dublin. And I called him and he turned around and he was coming back to me. But the two guys, his minders with him, were like, okay, weirdo alert, let's go, bringing him to the other side of the road. And he waited for me at the other side. And all I wanted to do was this. I was like, I need to give me my CD. And I couldn't do it because the guys were pulling him away. And he said, he took my two hands and he said, how's your recording career? And that was 2 years later. So, I mean, it was just, you know, he was just lovely. So I never gave him the CD. But anyway.
Yeah, that's one of those. That's just a moment in time that'll never go away. And how fabulous that is.
Yeah.
We've got a few more minutes. We want to get you to play the title cut from your new record. But tell me a little bit in a nutshell about your son, 29-year-old son, Aaron. And I know you miss him greatly. You'll be back to see him hopefully soon enough. But he is a budding musician, you mentioned earlier.
He is probably. He hasn't ever performed or anything, but he just was very shy about it. And I knew he could always probably sing, but he wouldn't sing for me. I knew he had an ear better than me from a kid. You know, he'd be humming movie soundtracks all the time. And he always wanted to be a movie director. Excuse me. And so he's definitely, you know, arty. And so for Valentine's Day 2 years ago, he sent me him singing My Way with like a backing track. And I was really, really impressed. And he was very nervous, and you know, but he definitely has the voice. And he's just started playing guitar, and something. He started something other instrument as well. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the way I feel right now, and with no earnings and everything, I'd be saying, am I one of those moms that goes, don't go into the music business, you know? But he does have a good job. So anyway, so, I'd love him. All I want is for him to be happy. And he made my day and my life the day he told me, like early on when he started singing and playing guitar and stuff. And he said, I just feel really happy when I sing. And that was just... that's fine by me.
That's just, you know, that is the bottom line. I mean, it's great if you want to make it a career, and it's, you know, but to be happy, I know in my, you know, kind of 14-year little midlife cover band career, there's nothing like singing, even on my level, and there's nothing like it. And you can tell.
No, there really isn't.
You know, this has been such a joy. And
thank you so much, guys, for having me. Steve, you're amazing. And Dave, thanks for all of the lovely tech information that I didn't know before today.
Yes. Well, yeah. David's chock full of being able to help a lot of the musicians that have come on kind of, you know, formulate.
I'm sure he is, because we're all like, duh.
No, that's fabulous. You're going to leave us with a gift. It is the title cut to your new record, You Can't Run Out of Love. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, Siobha O'Brien.
Thank you, guys. 3 little boys was a pretty good fit. But suddenly you're feeling kind of sick in the morning. You don't know what to do. People talking about you. Just remember that you can't run out of love. 3 little boys waiting on a girl. When you're living the life you choose, it don't come with warnings. There's no handbook, no rule book. You gotta paddle your own canoe book. Just remember that you can run out of love. You can run out of love. You can't run out of love. You can't live in the past or the flood of the aftermath. Just remember that you can run out of love. Picnics and birthdays, winter follows autumn. Now you can be so grateful now that you've got 'em. 3 little boys growing up so fast. Before you can blink your eyes, she will be crawling. The joy has replaced the burn. The magic has returned. Just remember that you can run out of love. You can't live in the past or the flood of the aftermath. Just remember that you can run out of love. You can't 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 run out of or the flood of the aftermath. Just remember that you can run out of love. Just remember that you can run out of love. That's for mothers everywhere, and especially during COVID.
Oh my gosh, Siobhan O'Brien, thank you so much for being a part of Living on Music, and we're going to do this.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really amazing, and it's
We're
lifted
going to
my
do this
spirits.
again.
So thank you.
Well, let's talk about doing this in the next couple of months again, and also doing it in person in the next few months, because I think that's where we're
be great.
end up trying to do that. The album is You
That'd be
Can't
so
Run Out of
great.
Love. Siobhan O'Brien, please go find her music on Facebook. It is spelled Siobhan because that is the way Siobhan is spelled in the Irish world. But find her music. Siobhan, I'm a huge fan now, so I'm going to be behind you.
Thank you.
As we go forward.
Thanks a million. My website is SiobhanO'Brien.com, so everything is on there. So
exactly.
Thank you so much, and thanks, David, for all the tech stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much, Siobhan. We will be in close touch as this album rolls out, and you will be back live, and this thing will take off. I know it. Thanks again so much.
You're so kind. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye, guys.
Well, that's that's one of those shows I just relish. She is one incredibly special musician. We are going to watch her take off with this record. Pandemic or not, this thing is gonna fly. Viral is the way we go now, and also live. And once the live part of this world reopens for these musicians, believe me, I'm going to be out meeting and seeing Siobhan again. So I want to thank Siobhan again for what a wonderful 45 minutes. Thank you so much. Coming up on Living on Music, the hits just keep on coming for this music fan and this music writer and this musician. We have Ali Handel coming up soon on the next show. She is an incredible musician from Armonk, New York. She is going to be with us. Patty Reese is also coming up soon on Living on Music. We have the amazing Bill Starks, who is, he and I go back in television. We're both television guys for 36 years, and Bill still works at the local CBS affiliate. He's one of the best television guys I've ever met, but what a musician. He's in a band called Ruthie and the Wranglers with Ruthie Logsdon, who play all over the area and have for so long. And he's got his own great solo career. So Bill's going to join me on June 29th. And the amazing Julia Kastorf will be here on July 6th. Julia was just named the Loudon Musician of the Year, which is a wonderful title for musicians in Northern Virginia and in this area. So she is going to join us to talk a little bit about that and play some music for us. We've got Tommy Lepson coming up, hopefully on a show. We've got a lot of great shows coming up. So please come back on Monday nights at 7 o'clock here on ZTV. A reminder that Living on Music is a production of Zebra Press. The executive producer, our technical director, our man doing all of the work to get us out here and doing everything is David McClure. So thank you again, David, one more time. You can visit the Zebra at zebra.org. Online. It is good news. It has a lot of information. It's a lot of great stuff about Northern Virginia and Alexandria that can really help you. Which is also great is that the newspaper, the Zebra, is back, and you can find it in the red Zebra boxes all over the area. Go find print. I know I say this every time, but I can't start any morning with breakfast and an iced coffee without my Washington Post. Maybe that's because I'm 59 years old, but I love print. And it's a thrill to have the Zebra paper back. So go find a copy of that. Thank you again for joining Living on Music again. Thanks to Siobhan O'Brien. What a joy. What an honor having her on. We will be back next Monday night on the 15th. So join us. And remember, no matter what's going on out there, no matter what you're facing, no matter how hard it is, come on, be the good in someone's life. We'll see you again.
Yeah.